good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
We're very happy to have the Ambassador of the European Union, Pierre-Christophe Chatzisavas. I hope I spelled it correctly. I know you're of...
No, but you're forgiven. You're forgiven.
Tell me how you pronounce your last name.
You're my friend. Chatzisavas.
Chatzisavas.
In proper Greek.
Okay. We know that you are of Cypriot origin, and now you're a French citizen. Can you give us a brief on the latest Jordanian-EU relations, especially after the last meeting that you had in Brussels with His Majesty the King?
Of course. Daoud, just to set the record straight, I'm Cypriot, so I'm still Cypriot citizen. Yes, I'm a dual national.
Okay.
And I'm a refugee from the occupied part of Cyprus.
So we understand refugee issues.
This is yes. So this is how I can connect easily with the issue that you have been fighting for so many years, Daoud. So it's my honor to be with you. I'm very happy to give you an update about EU-Jordan relations. Our conversation takes place in the wake of His Majesty's visit to Brussels, where he had very important conversations, engagement with EU leaders, with the President of the European Council, with the President of the European Commission, with the President of the European Parliament, where he gave them his views, his vision about regional developments, especially the question of Palestine, but also Syria and Lebanon, but where also he managed to make an extra mile in our bilateral relations, between EU and Jordan. So I would be very happy to develop on those matters.
Yeah, we need to know the objectives of the comprehensive strategic partnership that the European Union and Jordan signed, which was reported $3 billion in total. Can you give us a bit more details of how that works and its benefits to the people of Jordan?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, the EU and Jordan have extremely close relations based on a common world vision, based on principles, based on our shared commitment to international law, to the principles laid down in the UN Charter. And we have a very strong contract, legal basis for those bilateral relations, which we call an association agreement. So of all our neighbors, Jordan is really at the top of our list of closest allies, I would say. And this association agreement, which was sealed more than 20 years ago, is the framework, like a treaty that is binding also to all EU member states. What we noticed in our relations with Jordan is that very frequently, in fact, every 2-3 years, we feel the need to elevate our partnership. We feel the need to advance, to make an extra step, and this is exactly what happened over the last couple of months, where we revisited our priorities, we reset a number of objectives, and all those objectives are now enshrined in this strategic and comprehensive partnership. If you look at this document, which is a very short document, it includes 5 chapters. First of all, on political matters and political dialogue, we want to intensify the frequency of our engagement. We want also to acknowledge the fact that King Abdullah is the natural interlocutor of all our leaders, and we wanted to commit to meet at leaders level more frequently than in the past. We wanted also to express a standing invitation to Foreign Minister Safadi to engage with all foreign ministers in the EU, and we wanted at lower level, at the level of senior officials, at the level of bureaucrats, to have a framework for intensified dialogue on a number of issues, not just the regional issues, but also bilateral issues, such as security and defense. That's the second chapter of the partnership, and we committed to advancing or or military cooperation, also or cooperation in the area of counterterrorism. I will be happy to elaborate on those issues. Then the third and very important chapter in our relations is investment and trade. And on this one, we committed indeed a support package that is very significant, 3 billion euros. I will unpack it because I need to explain how it works and how we can make the full use of this package. Then the fourth chapter is about human development. And you know that the EU has been a standing partner of Jordan when it comes to quality education, primary, secondary education, universities, through our program Erasmus, which is a success story in Jordan, but also through scholarship schemes, including for vulnerable Jordanians and Syrian refugees in Jordan, giving them access to top-class Jordanian universities, such as the University of Jordan or the Hashemat universities or many other universities across the country, including Yarmouk University in Erbil. And also we have a focus on TVET, vocational training, but also health. So all social sectors, you know, we are also, and it's an area where Jordan is leading in the Arab world, the issue of disability. We have been a standing partner of the Ministry of Social Affairs, trying to work on the deinstitutionalization of people with handicap. So we will continue this important work strong. And sorry, I have a last one, which is migration and the response to the refugee crisis, where we wanted to signal to our Jordanian friends that we will sustain our support to the refugee crisis and also to the protracted Palestinian refugee crisis through UNRWA.
Okay. Our people, our listeners, are interested especially in the economic one. Our businesses have not succeeded in taking advantage of the opportunities from previous ones about sources of goods and so on. Can you explain to our listeners about the economic benefits that this agreement will have, and will they feel it in their pocket, or is it more theoretical? How does that agreement affect the average person?
So, you know, I know, you know, we are sometimes frustrated. We, as citizens, we have our concerns about the price of living and the level of unemployment. But if you look at the facts and data, then you realize that trade relations between EU and Jordan are solid. In fact, the EU is the second or third, at times second trade partner of Jordan. So we come second after Saudi Arabia, and we are, depending on the year, at the same level as China when it comes to trade exchanges. The problem in the EU-Jordan trade relations is it's a relation that is unbalanced, in the sense that Jordan will import more than 6 billion euros in terms of value from the EU at all levels. It's agriculture products from Romania, it's machine and equipment from Germany, it can be services from others, but the level of export from Jordan to the EU is not yet satisfactory. It has to do with the fact that the market in the EU, we bring together 450 million customers. It's very competitive. We have a very solid industrial base. Our products are cheap to European consumers. Then you have standards. Then you need to have business intelligence to do business with the EU. So it's true that the trade volumes from Jordan to the EU is not yet satisfactory. We have tried to work on this in the past. We have tried to relax some rules to make it easier for the Jordanian business to export to the EU, but there is much more work to do, and it's in fact one of the commitments that we took during His Majesty's visit to Brussels as part of the strategic partnership to revisit our trade relations and make sure that Jordan can use to the full the free trade agreement that it has with the EU, because we have a free trade agreement as part of the association agreement. Now the question is how to help the Jordanian industry and the value chain seize opportunities in the EU market develop products that raise an interest on the side of the EU market, and how to bring investors from Europe that will allow also a better integration between the Jordanian industry and our market.
We have tourism opportunities here that is very unique. And we also have a surplus of skilled labor. And I know that in Europe, you have a deficit of like 7 million skilled laborers that you need in the next 10 years or so. Is that something that can help improve the balance?
Absolutely. The biggest asset of Jordan is not its natural wealth. It's its brains, it's its youth, it's the level of education that is remarkable for the Middle East and for the southern of Europe at large. And this is why Jordan is performing so well when it comes to health tourism, for example, or services. And this is why Jordan is exporting so many skilled labor to the Gulf. But also to the EU, we should not ignore this part of the reality, which is important for Jordan because it brings remittances and it integrates its services to markets abroad.
We have a modernization plan that His Majesty initiated. And there's some worry now because of the results of the last elections and the success of the Islamists that the modernization plan is going to slow down. Are you engaging with the government about how to help mitigate some of the problems we had in the first phase of the modernization plan?
I think that my bottom line up front is that we are fully behind this modernization plan across the board. So we are behind the political modernization, and we gave a helping hand last year during the elections through electoral assistance. We also deployed a very significant electoral observation mission with observers spread out throughout the country to observe and accompany this important process that was transparent and utmost professional. So political, we are on your side. We are also economically behind the modernization plan. Across its various, from health to access to universal health coverage to the economy. I think that it's fair to say that this modernization has started under unfortunate circumstances, and that there is an obvious damage to the Jordanian economy as a result of the war in Gaza, as a result of the insecurity in the Red Sea, and it means also that we need to redouble efforts. I know that there will be a review of the economic modernization process, which we are looking forward to, and we will see how we can adapt our support, be it through budget support or grants or investment grants. And lastly, very, very important, because it's also extremely difficult and courageous on the side of Jordan to advance on this modernization, is the last one, the third one. It's the modernization of the administration. And here we are also assisting, trying to give a helping hand when it's needed and when it's requested, to ensure a transparent and more efficient administration. We brought the OECD on board, and we are working very, very closely with MOPIC and other ministries, line ministries.
On the second point of all the association agreements, you talk about human rights. And civil society and human rights organizations are concerned that we might not be moving in the right direction. And add to that problem the fact that the USAID and even some other countries are moving away from supporting civil society and human rights issues. How does EU fit in this? Will you be able to help support civil society in the coming years?
So, firstly, one must be happy if he or she understands what's going on the other side of the pond, and if he's able to read and predict what's going to happen when it comes to the U.S. external assistance. We are confident that the damage will be limited in Jordan, but we see that maybe some sectors, including civil society, may be damaged by the lack of predictability in support. So what we want to do as EU is we will not compensate for the loss of U.S. external assistance across the world. It's not what we are for. There are consequences that the U.S. need to uphold for its policies. What we want to do is make sure that our partners are able to cope. And this is where we see the role of the EU. As far as the EU is concerned, we will sustain our support and our external assistance. It's part of our DNA. So we will continue to support mega projects such as the water conveyor in Jordan. But across the world, we have engaged also very ambitious plans and infrastructure work under our Global Gateways initiative. What we want to do also is to continue to support civil society. And in a country like Jordan, what we will do is concretely we will ring fence our resources and make sure that moving forward the civil society gets the support that it used to receive from the EU. We will ring fence this support, and you can count on us to continue to support civil society across the board. Human rights organizations on one hand, local CSOs on the other, for their support that they give to the empowerment of ordinary Jordanian citizens.
Now, the EU made a very strong position against Trump's Gaza plan, and EU ambassadors in Jerusalem stood outside Al-Aqsa Mosque before Ramadan to ensure that there will not be any change in the status quo. Can you tell us more about the EU's general policy on the Palestine issue, on especially Gaza and Jerusalem?
So when it comes to Jerusalem, because you were talking about one of the latest statements that was issued by colleagues in Jerusalem, you saw the position. Any infringement to the status quo is something that we cannot accept. It has to do with access, for example, to the holy sites and Al-Aqsa compound, for example. It has also to do with Christian premises and the tendency of Israeli local authorities to tax or revisit agreements or practices that was exempting Christian sites, including Armenian sites, from taxes. For us, the custodianship and the special role played by the Hashemite in Jerusalem is critical. It's an integral part of the status quo, and we will continue to fight for the preservation of this very, very delicate and critical status quo for all religions. When it comes to the Palestinian question more generally, indeed, I mean, a number of recent initiatives have tested or resolved an opposition. I have in mind, for example, the Riviera plan or some other plans made by the Israeli government or announced by members of his government about humanitarian bubbles, forcible transfer of Palestinian civilians within Gaza. The reason why the president of the European Council went to the Cairo League of Arab States Summit is that we support the Gaza plan prepared by the Arab group. We do support this reconstruction plan. We see that it's the right basis for discussion. It's the one that is in line with international law and that will prevent any forcible transfer or displacement of Palestinian civilians.
Now, EU started lifting the sanctions on Syria, but a few days ago we had an increase in violence that it has ethnic background. Some of the minorities were hurt. Will the process of lifting continue, or will you pause it? How are you looking as the EU to the Syrian crisis?
So what we said, Daoud, is we haven't lifted or revoked all sanctions. We have suspended them. With the possibility of reimposing them if things go wrong. What we want to see is a political transition that is inclusive, that is respectful of international law and human rights law. Obviously, what happened over the weekend and this terrible massacre is a matter of grave concern. So I don't think that we can ignore this risk, and I think that there will be increased pressure on Damascus to deliver on all its commitments, including the commitments related to the transition and to the inclusivity. Or will through the suspension of all sanctions, especially on the banking sector, Syrian banks, the central bank in Syria, but also the energy and transport sectors, is to bring some oxygen to the Syrian economy. This sanctions regime was imposed to prevent the Assad regime from continuing its policies and its violations. It's a sanctions regime that is not designed to prevent or hamper the political transition. So we will continue to revisit all sanctions, make sure that we bring some oxygen to the private sector so that Syria can recover, including in areas of return of refugees. And indeed, next week, in fact, next Monday on the 17th, we will host in Brussels an important ministerial meeting, which will be attended by Foreign Minister Safadi, by Minister Toukan, and many other ministers from the region to discuss how to sustain the humanitarian response to the Syria crisis, including the refugee crisis, including in Jordan, but also how we can initiate a recovery in Syria. And obviously, this recovery will not be forged only by international actors. The private sector needs to be mobilized, and this is where the suspension of sanctions needs to take effect. The problem with this is that the EU sanctions alone will not suffice. Our sanctions regime was intertwined with other sanctions regime, and there needs to be coordination so that gradually we bring back oxygen to this society that has suffered so much from 15 years of civil war.
There is some concern that there might be a new wave of immigrants, Alawites and Christians, because of this violence. Would Europe be open to new immigrants because of this, or are the borders completely shut?
Daoud, we are not into the business of self-fulfilling prophecies and dramatic scenarios. We have condemned very vocally the violence that took place over the weekend, that has a devastated cost for civilians in Tartus, in Latakia. We will continue to put maximum pressure on the de facto authorities in Damascus to make sure that there is accountability for all those crimes and that order is restored in Syria.
Ambassador Pierre-Christophe, you've been very helpful. You've been very supportive of civil society. Thank you for coming to Community Media Network and appearing on our radio station and on our website. We wish you the best in your position. Thank you.
I thank you and the team as well.